All right, testing, testing. Okay, so what's up, people? What's up? What's up? Okay, we're gonna talk about what is meant to be versus what is, or if it should meant to be based on religion, right? As we talk about religion now, the two major religions that we have many with different type of religion, but we talk about we're gonna focusing on, which is like I would almost say the number one, which is Christianity and the Quran, which is dominating the world right now. And I want to hum into, I want to hum in and focus on where what the Bible is basically, how I should say, prophesies the serviency and the I would say the enslavement of a one group of people. I just want people to like I accept it. I'm not into I don't follow it or believe in it, to be honest with you, but and I don't think everybody back in them times was into religions or even believing into Christianity or the Quran, but they kind of had to make a choice because the book says this is what this group of people is supposed to be. And if this group of people was to not participate in what they was cursed to do, of course they was gonna be forced into doing it, right? So today we're gonna talk about the curse of Ham, right? The curse of Ham's son Canaan and the preparation for the sovrancy of his son Canaan to Shem and Japheth. His Ham got cursed by Noah. Now, Noah is, of course, everybody should know about the whole flood, 40 days, 40 nights, basically started a whole new world. And I pretty much think a lot of people, well, I don't think a lot of people, well, they know about the story, but a lot of people don't know the back end part of the story. Once they landed on Mount, I don't remember the location, but over there by Turkey, on top of the mountain, right? They, his son, Ham, because he had three sons, his son Ham laughed at his dad, Noah, because, Ham caught Noah drunk and he was, was naked or whatever, butt naked. And he laughed at him. And then his other two brothers basically walked backwards and covered him up. So once Noah got consciousness to his, got sober, basically, he cursed Ham. And he said, your sons is going to be servants to your two brothers, which is Shem and Joseph, right? And Joseph was the youngest one. He was still a little boy, I guess. Um, Futuristic, skipping a little bit to the future, Noah coming to his end days also, reminded Canaan or Ham, his son, that he's gonna be a servant to his brethren, which is Shem and Joseph or Japhet, for the pretty much all his days of his life. That's just his position. That's just what's gonna happen. Now he didn't say all of Ham kids. He just said his son Canaan. He didn't say all of them, because Ham had more than one son, right? He had more than one son. Canaan was just the oldest son. So, moving forward, the son Canaan had a lot of children for some reason. I don't know. He had a lot of kids. And, well, let me go back. Let me go back. Because the reason why I'm bringing this story to forefront is because if for people who believe in the Quran or people who follow a religion, or in terms of Christianity and the Quran, because the Quran is part of the Christianity religion, even though they try to say there's different, but hey, it's the same thing. They worship the same God, the same followers, the same characters, the same events. So it's the same thing. Okay, so I don't want people to get confused. It's the same thing. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this story up is to say that for Christian African black people or melanin people or people who just believe in the Quran and religion, Christianity altogether, you have to accept, and I said you have to accept the fact that your lineage, which is Canaan, is meant to be servants to everybody else on the planet. Now, it's not all of Ham's sons that was cursed, because from what we understand, he said, your son Canaan. He only said Canaan. All of Canaan's sons, all of Canaan bloodline was meant to be servants to all of Shem and Japheth's sons. Canaan offspring don't have to be servants to other brethren of Ham, which is his brothers, right? But he can be a servant to all of Shem offspring and all of Japheth's offspring. Now, let me take it back a little bit so you guys don't get a little confused. The reason why I say Shem and Japheth are going to have conquer or have control over the sons of Canaan, and this is the reason why. And this is why it ties into the whole African slavery and, AKA black people being enslaved or become servants. Because they use the word servants, but slave is the actual word, right? Over time they changed the word from slave to servant, but the actual word is slave, right? They're going to be slave to his brothers. But anyway, I just want you to understand that they changed the words in the Bible a lot, like to make it sound good, but it's actual slave. The word is actual slave. Ham, once they separated from the Caucasus Mountains, right, where Noah and the ship landed, and the Ham, Shem, and Japheth started branching off with his wife and their wives and children. Japheth went towards the Asian location, right? Which is all from India to like going up towards like Russia area, somewhere around there, going back towards like China, going all the way back up that way. Or let's just say the Asia continent, right? And then you have the Europe continent, which is Shem, went towards the Asian continent, went to the Europe continent. So all the white people, aka white people, or Caucasians, if you want to call them that, moved, which is Shem, the lineage of Shem, went to Europe. So Japheth went to the Asian continent, from India all the way back to China, going back up that direction. And then Ham went towards Africa, which is like, somewhat Middle East, going back towards, going back to Africa. The other North, there was no North America came later. You know what I mean? So let's just repeat that again, so y'all don't get confused. Maya, hey, how you doing? Rick, what's up? Yeah, you have a wonderful day too, man. Christian Simmons, hey, how you doing, man? Christian. I'm not trying to start no drama with nobody. I'm just basically putting information out there because a lot of people don't know about this, especially when it comes to Christians. They don't read the book. They just listen to what people say, and sometimes, you need people to just let people know what's really in the book. So, and this is like the beginning. This is in Genesis, right? I think it's like chapter 7, between 6 and 7, and then you go to verse. I don't remember the verses, but if you read 6 and 7 in Genesis, chapter 6 and chapter 7, you'll come across the information that I'm talking about, right? About Noah cursing his sons, cursing Ham or cursing Canaan because he saw him naked. Now, back to my point. So basically, what I'm saying is to identify the races or the people back in them times, they migrated from the Noah point of view, the biblical point of view, from the Caucasus Mountains. Japheth went towards Asian county or Asia, Asia continent. Shem went to the Europe continent, aka white people, and Ham went to Africa, aka black people. Right? That's what they say happened. That's what the Bible says. That's not my words. That's the Bible. Now, if you was to believe, if you're a Christian and you believe in the Bible, you have to understand this is what happened. You can't deny it. You can't be upset with it, right? If you believe in it and that you strongly follow the book for what it is, you have to accept it. So that means African people, right? Ham, the descendants of Ham, the sons of Canaan, because the sons of Canaan traveled throughout Africa. You know what I'm saying? They went all over the place. Anywhere in Africa, they were sons of Canaan. In the Middle East, they were sons of Canaan, right? Sons of Canaan also inbred with other brethrens. Like, his children, Canaan children, also, um, how should I say, uh, had children with other tribes from Ham, which is, their uncle children. But, they was populating the earth at the time. So, we're not going to get confused about that. But the bottom line is that Canaan was migrating throughout Africa, from the Middle East to just Africa. Shem migrated to North America. To Europe. Anywhere in Europe, that's Shem. Anywhere in Asia, that's Japheth. Between the Quran and Christianity, it's the same story, nothing different. So do not act like the Quran or the Christianity reading two different books. It's the same story. Noah cursed Ham, son Canaan. And Noah said he's going to be a slave to his brothers, which is Seth, which is Shem, and Japheth. Shem is the white people. Japheth is the Asian people. The Bible says Canaan is going to be a slave or a servant, because the new term is servant today. They don't like to use the word slave anymore. It is what it is. But before they start changing the words in the Bible, it was slave. Because I know people might be like, why are you using the word slave? Because that's what the word was before they changed it, right? So Canaan, offsprings, or the sons of Canaan, or Canaan and his sons, his offspring is going to be slaves towards, say let's say African people, a group of African people is going to be slave to the white people and to the um, Asian people. Now the problem is this: when when Christianity became a big thing, a big deal, and they was going around, the Vaticans and all these people that was going around, forcing people into Christianity. Of course they know this story. Of course they know the blacks are servants, because even though Canaan is the bloodline of servants, they're not gonna be able to signify who's black and who is not black. You know what I'm saying? Or, AKA who is dark skinned and who is not dark skinned, right? Or who's earth like and who's not earth like. You know what I mean? They're not gonna do that because it's too mixiation, it's too many in between. Because remember, God, Noah did not curse Ham all his sons. He only said Canaan, just Canaan alone, right? So that means all of Canaan lineage would be servants or slaves. But who's gonna go to Africa and say, where you from? Who's your bloodline? They're not gonna ask all of that. And then again, as the times passed on, some of these people don't even know their lineage, right? So most likely anybody that looks black or look African, I mean, well, they all look the same, they're gonna be like, slave him. He's a servant. That's what he's supposed to be. That's his position under the Christianity rules. That's his position under the Quran rules, right? Because guess what? Noah said so. No, God gave Noah the power to curse or redeem who is powerful and who is not on the earth, and he punished Canaan. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this out is to say that if you are Christian and you're a black person or you're an African person, even though yes, you might not be a lineage to the Canaanites, right? At the end of the day, I mean, if you're gonna go through the struggle to identify yourself as somebody else, different. Well, you can't because you're the same bloodline. Even if you was to do a blood test from the Canaanites versus Ham and all his other brothers, the bottom line is you're still the blood of Ham, because Ham shared the same blood with all his family. So if you was to do a blood test, you're still gonna come out as a Canaanite. It doesn't matter. So what I'm saying is this: all the Africans, all black people, even some Middle Eastern that claim to follow the religion or that's the Christianity and the Quran, have to accept. They have to accept that they are servants to Shem and Japheth offspring, which is AKA Shem, the Caucasian, the white people, and Japheth, Asian people, which is to this day. That's what Christianity is, that's what the book says. You have to accept it. You can't say, oh, well, because we're in 2025, it's different now. The Bible have never changed. Because then you're saying God made the changes. God never made no changes. Man make the changes. We all got to understanding, though. If this book was the power of God, and God had it written back in them times, who are you to change the words of the book or the words that God was placed to be written? Man can't change those words. You have to continue whatever the things say. You have to keep it. But we keep changing the words We keep changing the whole concept of how y'all want to live and what you see fit. You can't do that. If you're an African or you're AKA black person and you're a Christian or you follow the Quran, you have to accept you are a servant to your brothers, which is the AKA the white people, AKA the Asian people. The Muslims became, most of the people in the Middle East is typically Arabic, you know, which they follow the Muslim doctrine. Their book have this, I mean, like I said, the book is the same thing. It's the same story, same information, right? So their book says from Canaan, because Canaan went to Africa, and some of them stayed to, you know, stuff like, I think it's like Israel or somewhere around there, because Canaan was Israel at one point. Canaan was also, um, I can't remember. I think it's Nob. I think it's Nob they call it. I don't remember exactly. So it's like two locations on the Middle East where Canaan resides. You know, a tribal community, right? But majority of the Canaanites was in Africa. Majority of them lived in Africa. So that says that most of them was typically African people, right? Or blend in with all the other African people that was there. 'Cause remember, like I said, Canaan did not populate Africa alone. He had Ham had other brothers. Canaan had at least, like 11 brothers or something like that. I'm thinking, I'm not sure. I think he had like 11 brothers. So he had a lot of brothers. But the lineage of Canaan was the only one supposed to be enslaved or become servants to his other counterparts, well, his uncles, right? But those uncles was, above over this. Now, here's the second question, right? Here's the second question. This was written, I was before, this is in Genesis 6 to 7. So this was written um, before Christ, right? You're talking maybe like 2, 3, 4,000. I mean, like 10,000 like years ago. I don't remember exactly how many thousands of years, but I know it was like BC. Like, I think it was like 4 BC, 2 BC, somewhere around there, 5 BC. I don't remember exactly, right? And in 20, let's say in this is after Christ. So we talking like, I think it's 200 or 300 AD, right? After Christ, the Muslims started enslaving the African people, aka the Canaanites, right? They started enslaving them, or basically turning them into servants. And yes, back in them days, there was different mixture of people. There was not all just black or dark skinned people. They had light skinned people. They had red bone people. They had different colors, right? But the issue is that was you the issue is that was you down for the camp? Were you down with the Muslims, or you wasn't, or you're against them? So if you was a Muslim, or if you converted to become a Muslim, they'll probably give you a chance. They probably wouldn't hurt you, or they probably allow you to join their camp or whatever. But most cases they would just kidnap you or take you in as a slave. You know what I mean? And then just, or basically, kidnap the women from certain village and kill off a few men, because that's what the Bible said tell them to do. they're only following what the Bible tells them to do. They're not doing, and you can't put their time in our time, okay? Because it's two different timing. They will just do what they rightfully see that they were supposed to do at the time, because that's their law, that's their belief, that's their understand. Back in them times, religion was governed. You know what I'm saying? That was the govern at that time. So they're following what their natural sense of understanding should be. Coming forward now, they've been doing that for centuries. Now here comes that now remember now that's just the Middle East and that's the Arabic people doing this, right? Now here comes the Caucasians, right? The white people came across. I mean, there was Christianity already, but did they not know that the black people were servants? Did they not read the same story as the Muslims did? Because the Muslims was doing it from since AD. The white people wasn't. You know what I'm saying? The Romans and the Greeks conquered the upper northern part of Africa, and yes, they was having some slaves and stuff, but they didn't treat them the same as like the Bible slavery said they were supposed to. They was morely known as indigenous slaves or slave of war, whatever the case is. And what they'll do, they put them to fight war for them, or they might become freemen in their society, but they're still known as. But meaning when they say free, that doesn't mean that they're not slaves. They're just free to roam around and do whatever they want to do. You know what I mean? That's really what it is, right? So it doesn't mean that they're completely free. It just means that they're free to walk around and do what they want to do, but they'll be known as a lower class people, right? So when it comes to the western side, the middle and the western side of Africa, those tribal people wasn't fully into Christianity. They had their own gods and religion that they was following. So once the slave trade started and the white people started using the ideology that or basically mimicking what the Muslims was doing due to religious concept, because like I said, they never paid when the Greeks and the Romans they didn't really pursue the religious point of it that much. It's only when the slave trade started, they I would want to say when the Moors introduced themselves to the white people to do business or trade, and they brought on some black slaves, and they probably like, oh, okay, this is part of the Bible. Oh, okay. So hey, if the Bible says it, and the Muslims are doing it, we believe in Christianity, and Christianity says we should enslave black people too. The only funny thing is that the Muslims, the black Muslims, are black too. But how could you be black and still want to enslave your own people because they're not believing in your religion? Because the Muslim religion have nothing to do with skin tone or location. I mean, let's say a group of people who look a certain way. It's all about if you believe in the Quran or not, and then you become a brother to them, which you have to identify that you're Muslim. This is why when the Muslims convert anybody or they capture anybody or they try to capture anybody, you have to either convert to becoming a Muslim, or you have to submit that you want to become a Muslim, and they might let you survive. Most likely they might let you live, because once you become one of them, you're family. In the Christian world, it's not generally so much. In the Christian world, they're kind of just like, we just don't like you, so we're gonna get, if we like you, we're gonna make you one of us. But if we don't like you, oh, I don't know. We're still gonna slave you, but we're gonna just keep you alive, right? So basically, the point I'm coming to do is this: once slavery started, they say people say 1600, but it's actually started way before the 1600s. So I'm gonna go by the mostly estimated the actual date. Our goes back as like between 11 and the 1200s is when it's actually started practicing. It's not that it wasn't fully exposed at the time. It was a smaller group, smaller numbers because they was going through war at the time to conquer the Africa. But by time the 14 or the 1500s, slavery was already, you know, sailing across the ocean, mostly to the Caribbean and South America, right? North America came like probably maybe like I guess like around the 1600s, maybe like the late 15 to 1600s. So that's North America came late, but South America, the Caribbean was already being enslaved prior to 1600s. You know, and a lot of people don't like to add that part in there, but it was happening. So what I'm saying is, I'm just speaking truth, and I just want people to go based on the truth or fact instead of just you know things got to add up. Things got to add up to make things make sense, right? For why people are doing things that they're doing, they have to add up. You have to follow a pathway, right? Where this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened. You know what I mean? So I'm just basically laying out the pathway to what led up to black people being enslaved or African people being enslaved in the condition that they was enslaving compared to all the other Soviet behaviors or enslavement to different, all the other enslavement. Because of course, yeah, every place had slaves. That's a fact. But every place had slave it was not structured the way it was structured just for African people or AKA Canaan people, AKA black people alone. Black people's slavery was structured separately from all other slaves that was put out there. It was completely different. And a lot of it started from because these people were meant to be slaves due to the religion, due to Christianity and the Quran. It was these people are meant to be slaves. So if you're a Christian or if you live by the Quran, you have to accept, or people who African people, people who who follow the Bible and stuff like that. If you are from Africa, whether you're Muslim or Christian, and from the outside world of Shem, which is Europe and Asia, right? You African people was meant to be slaves or servants to these people, because the Bible says so, right? Um, the Bible says so. The Bible says this is what y'all supposed to, what the African people are supposed to be like. I just, like I said, I'm just trying to put the information. I'm not trying to tell nobody, like, oh, well, this is what you. No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying if you're a Christian and you're Muslim and you believe in these two doctrines, which is the same doctrines, know that this is the role you're supposed to take, or this is acceptance under the law of God, or, this is what you're supposed to be. So I'm gonna end it there with that. I'm gonna open up this topic again because I want to really sink it in. But I'm gonna open up this topic again and like and let me know what you guys think. Give me some likes. Share the video, subscribe. Um, if anybody want to have a conversation with me or to kind of like basically get have a one-on-one conversation, try to make me understand a little different from what I understand or from what I've read from the book, I'll feel free to send me a message or email, to let me know. Let me see. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna put my email in the description so you guys can like send an email if you want to challenge me or basically bring me up to date with what's going on in terms of the Canaanites being African people and was meant to be slaves, and I'm basically I'm saying that religion is any Christian people due to the Quran or from the Christianity that was a descendant of Ham or Canaan. You was meant to be slaves. You was meant to be servants to your two brothers or brethren, and hopefully we can come to that understanding. But you know, like I said, share, like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Leave me a comment, send me an email, or if you want to challenge me on the conversation or have a conversation with me about the situation, feel free to let me know. Peace.